Hi and welcome to the next session at Rekindle It, where we were discussing understanding the self. The first lesson under understanding the self, unit 1, is what makes me I, and we were on the part 2. In the first part, we dealt about the self concept, self esteem, and identity. So, what is identity? What is self? These two topics in understanding the self we have covered. In this video, we are going to talk of characteristics of self during infancy, early childhood, middle childhood, and adolescence. In case you have not subscribed to my channel, just go and subscribe it so that I am motivated to work even harder. And secondly, just go and get your paper and pen so that you can make your notes along with the video. First listen to the video, then either take screenshots or come back to the video, pause it and note down your notes. This way you will be best prepared for your exams and you won't bother with the details. Now, development and characteristics of the self, we'll begin with it. It's more or less the revision of the last video. About when we are talking of self, we are not born with self. When we are born, we don't have any concept about ourselves, what we are, what we will be when we become old, whether we are going to be a dancer or a musician, but we create and develop self as we grow. The development and characteristics of the self in infancy, during early childhood, middle childhood, and adolescence, out of which adolescence is going to be the most important one. Now, according to psychologist Erik H. Erikson, each stage of development from infancy to old age, each stage of development, we accomplish certain tasks. See, when the child is very small, the first task is to take, to lie down on, to speak, to stand, to understand, to look at the light. So these are the basic tasks. Then we grow old. As we grow older, adults, we have to start a family and so on. And they enable us to move on to the next stage of development. So each stage it assists and adds upon the concept we already have. So first we begin with the self during infancy. That is, task for 0 to 2 years of age is to achieve bowel and bladder control. This is according to Erikson. But a child in 0 to 2 years does much more than just achieving the bowel and bladder control. The infant at this stage does not realize that he is separate from the world outside. Just have a look at this picture. When you have a child like this and you have some toys above, the child is not able to understand how to catch it. He is not able to feel that ये मेरा ही हाथ है, इस हाथ को मैं अगर बढ़ाऊंगा तो मैं इसको पकड़ लूंगा. He keeps on moving his whole body and he is not able to identify with the concept of the world outside him. There is no self-awareness or self-understanding. The mental representation of self is zero. The infant does not realize that the hand belongs to him. See, this infant doesn't, even this child, he'll eat his toe and he'll eat anything that gets into his hand. He does not understand the hand belongs to him, and that he is separate from other people and the things he sees around. So he is not able to understand the relationship between two. But once he is around 18 months of age, the sense of self emerges gradually. He understands that he is different, this is his mother, there are relatives, and in this later half of the second year, the infants also start using personal pronouns like I, me, my. Even small children will say, this is my mother, this is not your mother. This is my mother's slipper, just give it to me. In case you are wearing a slipper of his mother, the mother of this child, he'll ask, this is my mother. See, the child is crying maybe because he wants the toy, and the second one, he's so confident because it is his toy. So this will, ये बच्चा कहेगा ये मेरा है और ये रोएगा कि मुझे ये चाहिए. That is why you must have seen kids, they always keep on crying कि मेरे को भी यही चाहिए और दूसरे को भी यही चाहिए. If you have 5 toys, everyone would ask only one toy. So infants also begin to recognize themselves in the photograph at this time. And see, once they go in front of the mirror, they'll be kissing the person in the mirror, the kid, and he'll be full of love. He won't understand that it is he who only. In case you want to do an activity, एक बच्चे को, if you have a kid around you, just put a bindi on his face and put him in front of the mirror. Now that child will not understand कि ये जो बिंदी लगी है, it is on his head. अगर यहाँ पर उसे बिंदी दिख रही है ना, तो उसे ये नहीं समझ में आएगा दिस इज ऑन माई फोर हेड, एंड ही विल ट्राई टू गेट दिस बिंदी फ्रॉम द हेड ऑफ दिस इमेज ऑन द मिरर. Now, self during early childhood. Now we move over to early childhood when the child is ready to go to the preschool. Here the child starts talking fluently by the time he is 3 years old. Self recognition is not very important to know self understanding. His demands are limited to what he or she wants. And he uses verbal means. Now he doesn't have to put his hand and use gestures. He can make use of language, and it involves their conversation about their own selves. He can make use of his own senses. He can speak out and tell कि मेरे को खाना है, मेरे को खाना दो, मैं भी घूमने जाऊंगा, मैं मार्केट जाऊंगा. So the main characteristics of early childhood are, the first is physical descriptions. Then we have to think about the things by which they describe themselves. Self descriptions overestimate themselves, do not understand complex traits. The first is physical description. इसमें क्या है, self or things to differentiate themselves from others. Now they want to differentiate themselves from others, and they use descriptive words like I'm tall, मैं बड़ा हो गया हूँ, मैं अब छोटा बच्चा नहीं हूँ. So he'll say that I'm tall. They use absolute terms and not comparative terms. They'll not say to their mother कि मैं तुमसे बड़ा हो गया हूँ या मैं सबसे बड़ा हो गया हूँ. He'll only say मैं बड़ा हो गया हूँ. So he'll talk in absolute terms. The child will not say that I'm taller than Kiran. He'll say I am tall. They describe by the things that they can do. Self-understanding. They contain active descriptions of themselves. अगर उनसे पूछो बेटा आप क्या करते हो, तो he'll say I can ride a bicycle, I can make a house, I can count till 10, and I've learned ABCD. So they describe themselves by the things they do and not their feelings. Self descriptions, they are mostly in concrete terms, in the things they do or they can see. Just say what all they possess. I have 10 toys, I have a television, my mobile, it has so many games which I can play. So these are self descriptions. And they also overestimate themselves, and they speak out in terms that they are overestimating themselves. मैं कभी किसी से नहीं डरता, I am not afraid. आई नो ऑल द पोएम्स. उसको एक पोएम याद होगी लेकिन वो क्या कह देगा, आई नो ऑल द पोएम्स, मुझे सारे गेम्स आते हैं, मैं सबसे तेज, मैं सबसे आगे दौड़ूंगा. तो दे ओवर एस्टिमेट देमसेल्व्स, दे आर नॉट एबल टू इवेल्युएट देमसेल्व्स विद कंटेक्स्ट टू अदर्स. दे डू नॉट अंडरस्टैंड द कॉम्प्लेक्स ट्रेट्स लाइक अ सेम पर्सन कैन बी गुड और बैड. वो ये नहीं कहेगा कि मेरी मम्मी कभी अच्छी है कभी बुरी. माई मॉम इज द बेस्ट, वो सही है. उसकी टीचर जो भी वो स्कूल में है, he'll say that my teacher is the best. So this is about the early childhood. Then we move over to the middle childhood. अब मिडिल चाइल्डहुड में बच्चा थोड़ा और बड़ा हो जाता, फिर वो अपने आप को कैसे डिस्क्राइब करता है. फिर ही सेज नेम साइकोलॉजिकल कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स. तो पर्सनालिटी के ट्रेट्स सिर्फ फिजिकल ट्रेट्स नहीं बोलेगा. अब ही विल से दैट आई एम वेरी गुड एट मेकिंग फ्रेंड्स, आई वर्क वेरी हार्ड, आई फिनिश माई होमवर्क ऑन टाइम, माई मैम appreciated me, I have done my work very neatly, I finished it on time. So he describes in terms of internal characteristics. Then in social descriptions and identity, in terms of the groups they belong, that for example I am in the music corps, I belong to the red house, the blue house, I have joined the library. So they also have their social descriptions. Then they are also able to distinguish about the real and the ideal self now. अभी तक तो बच्चा कहता था I know everything, but now they are able to identify that that was the ideal self. They can differentiate the actual competencies that they have, the potential they have, and the qualities they want or the qualities they think are required for a task. For example, if they are going in for a race, he will say that I'll not be the winner. This boy, Saksham, he runs faster than me. या फिर no, I will not win the drawing competition, I don't draw that well, Rajini draws very well. So they are able to distinguish the real and the ideal self, even though they want to win, but they know that they don't have the capabilities. They also start making comparisons. जैसे अभी तक वो कहता था ना मैं दौड़ता हूँ, मैं बड़ा हो गया हूँ. Now they can differentiate themselves in comparative terms and don't just use the absolute terms. They think what they can do also in comparison to others. So this girl can think and compare herself with the boy over here. This boy will say I am the best and in running, the girl will say, yeah, you might be very good in running, but I'm more stylish than you, I'm more intelligent than you, I'm better at maths. So they can compare. So I can run faster than Kiran. They can make comparisons, and social descriptions are now more realistic as compared to the preschool child. They are also able to see the viewpoint of others. They'll say, आज मैंने जो अपना काम नहीं किया तो मेरी मम्मी सैड थी, या my sister was sad when I broke her pen. So they are able to understand that they cause other people happiness or sadness. Okay, now we come to adolescence, which is the stage of maximum stress and strain, tension, stress. So, how many adolescent problems? You are all adolescents, you have so many problems. Sometimes people say that you are now an adult, behave like one. Then you have peer pressures. Peer pressures, दोस्त कहते हैं चलना है, खाना है, क्या पढ़ती रहती है तू हर टाइम. Then you have to be rebel against being treated like a child. कभी आपसे किसी ने कहा कि बड़े हो जाओ, और आप कभी आपसे कहते हैं कि तुम बच्चे हो. तो यहाँ पर देखो उसको, she is treating like a child. The adolescents are not ready to be treated like a child. They'll say, I don't want to drink milk. Now I want tea. तो कभी वो कहेंगे कि तुम बड़े हो गए हो, और एक ही मिनट में कह देंगे जब आपको कोई डिसीजन लेना हो, फ़ोन लेना हो, कभी खरीदना हो, तो कहेंगे इतने बड़े नहीं होंगे हो कि सब कुछ मुझे बता दो. सो यू आर नॉट क्वाइट ग्रोन अप. Then you have physical, sexual, hormonal changes, conflicting expectations from the family and society. A moment they say you are grown up, they have so many expectations, do well in your career, what are you going to do? Then dilemmas and disagreements with the family, friends, society, the conflicting feelings, identity crisis, sexual changes, attraction towards the opposite sex, innumerable problems during adolescence. So the self during adolescence, self-understanding becomes increasingly complex during adolescence. It is the most critical time for identity development. The identity which you form in adolescence generally carries on for your whole life. Erickson said that you have to develop the sense of identity. This is the main purpose of adolescence. A satisfactory self-definition about who you are. And now, the enhanced focus on the development of self, the person can face an identity crisis, और इसी को solve करने के लिए you will find most of the adolescents, they are standing in front of the mirror, combing their hair, looking at themselves from different angles, or they might even get depressed. इतनी सारी किताबें रखी हैं, but you just don't feel like studying. The reasons can be that you should try to know oneself. The person is now concerned with understanding herself. What does he or she want to be? By the end of adolescence, lasting sense of self and identity has developed, and this is who I am. You can decide this is who I am. And by the end of adolescence, you must have noticed, if you have elder brothers or sisters, that the conflicts within the family, they also sometimes reduce. It's very minimal now. The identity is influenced by rapidly changing biological and social features in an adolescent. Now let's understand details. The self-descriptions of an adolescent are abstract. They lay less emphasis on describing in physical terms. अब वो physical terms पे नहीं कहते कि I am very big, I am very small, I run fast, or the activities that they do, but on abstract or inner aspects of the personality. They are able to understand their traits, their emotions. They can say, I'm very quiet, I'm very sensitive, I'm cool-headed, I'm brave, I'm emotional, truthful, I'm very punctual. So these are the things, these abstract things about your feelings, the adolescents are now able to discuss. Their self carries several contradictions. They are still trying to understand what they are. They have complex traits. They might say, I'm calm, but very easily I get disturbed. I'm quiet, but also talkative. So when you are in front of adults, you might be very quiet. But as soon as you are in your friends, you might be very talkative. So these are all several contradictions in your personality. Fluctuating sense of self. The self keeps on undergoing a change, experience diverse situations and respond differently in different times. You respond differently when you are with your friends, when you are with opposite sex friends, when you are with your parents, and the understanding about self also fluctuates over time. For example, when you were a child, you must be thinking, I'm very good at maths, but now I'm good at maths. I don't know. Sometimes I like maths, sometimes I don't. So You keep on fluctuating. You have mood swings. Sometimes you're very happy, sometimes not. And the ideal and real self is now more segregated. The ideal self is very prominent. That is what you ideally like to be. आज आप सोचते होगे कि मैं तो नरेंद्र मोदी जैसा बनना चाहता हूँ. I want to be the principal of the school. I will be an ideal. I'll help everybody in the society. और जब बड़े होते हैं ना तो ये सारे जो idealness है, it goes down the drain. For example, a girl may want to be tall, but she might actually be short. Everybody has his heroes. You might want to be Kareena Kapoor, Deepika Padukone, but when you look into the mirror, you realize, no, I'm not that. So, ideals, you have your ideal self. That is why this stage is hero worshipping stage. Then, the adolescents become self-conscious and preoccupied with themselves, the mirror, the combs, get them all handy. Feeling of always being on the stage, being noticed, over concerned about their physical appearances, what they are doing, how they are speaking, how they carry their phone. This is all very important in the characteristics when you are an adolescent. So most of the self has been formed. I hope you have understood the growth or the formation of self in the various stages, from a child who is born with no self-concept to an adolescent who is more or less sure of who he or she is. If you have liked it, to subscribe it, give me a thumbs up and share it with your friends, because knowledge, the more you share, the more you learn. And if you find anything interesting or you find anything to contribute, do write it down in the comment box. See you in the next video with the last part. Till then, bye bye.